Hello everybody, welcome back to the Steam Completion Challenge. Before talking about this episode's game, I want to explain the rather long breaks between videos. This past stretch of months is really because of one reason. Overwatch 2. Yeah, I know, but I was climbing in competitive with all my friends, and it was pretty fun for the most part. That was until I realized that the game wasn't really valuing my time anymore. The whole competitive system in that game is really broken, and a lot of the matches were super unbalanced. Plus, the recent cancellation of the PvE mode was just the nail in the coffin for me. Now that I've been away from playing that game daily, I have found a rekindled spark into the YouTube videos again. So going forward, get it, I'm going to give an honest shot at making consistent content for the next few months. I plan on releasing about 2 video months of the Steam completion format. Beyond that, I've considered giving Twitch streaming a try, but I haven't really decided that's best right now. Any feedback you guys can give me is most appreciated and really helpful. So if there's anything that seems better than others, please let me know. Okay, with all that housekeeping out of the way, on to the next episode of the Steam Completion Challenge. Forward to the sky. After Garfield Kart, I needed to give my brain a break from the color orange. I also wanted something that was a lot simpler in nature, which is where this game comes in. Forward to the Sky is a puzzle platformer developed by Animu Game and released onto Steam on January 29th of 2015. There's also a Switch remaster of this game available, which came out on February 25th of 2021. This game is very short, like 5 levels and a boss. Each level has one major gimmick to it. Some levels have you traveling through rings, others make you flip switches, and some make you go all Indiana Jones style and ride on boulders. The combat and controls are extremely simple. WASD for movement and left mouse for an attack. You can right click as well for a different attack. The mouse acts as a camera and space is jump. That's really about as in depth as the controls get. Technically there are some more moves you can pull off, but they really aren't worth it. As far as enemy types, there's really only one, skeletons. They have a slight variety, as some are for close range only and others are for the longer ranges. They're really not too hard to deal with on their own, but when in a group, they can be pretty tricky. Some have more health and are larger, but that's about as much variety as there is to the common enemies. From here, I will take you level by level regarding the story, puzzles, and general thoughts. Level 1. Legend has it that in the Sky Tower lived a witch. Everyone feared her as she seized all the crystals and attacked the people of the Sky Tower. Those people fled in fear. Recently, a young princess vowed to expel the witch from the tower and return all the crystals to her people. As the princess lands onto the first stage from her hot air balloon, she soon comes across her first skeletons. By the way, this game has voice acting, which does work for what it is, just to let you know. Anyways, this game is a pseudo-collectathon, as collecting all the crystals in a given level will unlock more of the story. After surpassing some spikes coming from the ground, the first mechanic of the game awaits, these being levers. After hitting them with her sword, it will activate something. In this case, it is the platform underneath moving her along. As we make our way through the few platforms, some inner monologue plays. The princess explains that she has come here to become a hero. In the past, she has been deemed a troublemaking princess. As she continues her way up, she starts hearing a voice coming from the crystals she's collected. Mid-inner monologue, it is now time for the next mechanic, pushing boxes. These are used to allow her to jump to higher platforms previously unreachable. As we continue fighting skeletons, the voice from the crystals is revealed to be the witch.
Human.
The princess stops hearing the witch shortly after, which leads to this remark.
Well, good thing no one saw my stupidity. Otherwise, how would be everything?
As she continues to climb and solve lever puzzles, a stronger, larger skeleton blocks the way. He's pretty annoying to deal with, as the enemies do not take any knockback, but we do, of course. After beating him, we continue to collect crystals until we make it to the end of the level, the hot air balloon. Based on how many crystals you collected in the level, the story will reflect that completeness. Each level has 100 crystals, mostly from statues and skeletons, but even missing one crystal will keep some elements of the story hidden. Level 2. Through the crystals, it is uncovered that long ago, people mined crystals from within the Sky Tower. These people overmined the crystals until the mines were depleted. During the harsh times with the crystal drought, a young girl was born who could grow crystals from her body. Jumping out of the balloon, there's an immediate jumping puzzle with these buttons on the ground. It's not all that hard to get the right heights for this. After jumping on the platforms, the princess makes a kindish remark about the witch.
The landscape isn't bad for a witch.
The next interesting obstacle is the spinning blades. After overcoming these obstacles, it is revealed that the monsters are not controlled by the witch, although the princess does not believe it for a second. As she continues upwards, the witch tries pleading for the princess to leave, which causes the princess to start doubting the legends about the witch being evil. The next major obstacle is these windmills that have to be raised and or lowered to the right height to be able to jump to the next part of the level. This part actually takes a bit more strategy than the previous puzzles. One thing to note about the level layout is it is really easy to go back down towards the start of the level without realizing it. I found myself doing this on occasion. After a few more jumps on some spinning platforms, we make it to the balloon and onto the third level. Through the crystals, we learned that as the witch grew up, the crystals would disappear and the mines were drying up. Everyone thought that she was the one who was causing this, so they would bully her and declare her as a witch. She was friendless, and no one would be willing to live with her. Man, what a heartwarming story thus far. Another balloon ride later. And now it's nighttime. We are quickly introduced to the next game mechanic, wind. In this stage, the whole method for travel is by going in the wind's direction to make jumps and quickly get through the terrain. This doesn't really work all that well, unfortunately, as the wind launches you rather than helps you glide. After going up the wind path, the witch pleads again with the princess to not hurt the crystals, as if they were alive. The next major section involves hitting switches while wind tries to knock you off. By hitting all the switches, a new wind stream is usable to progress further up. One really nice thing about this level is the skybox, which for a smaller title is really impressive. As we continue onward, the witch tells us that the skeletons used to be the people who lived here. Kinda gnarly if you ask me. Next up in the level are these floating sections where you have to avoid crystals while not falling off the map, which is a pretty cool way to make the wind more interesting here. There's also the reverse of which allows for moon-like jumps in a section as well. After a few more wind-related jumps and hops, it's back to the balloon. Level 4. Next up on the lore block. The witch was forced away from home and became pretty lonely. She found herself talking with the crystals, who she could understand. Despite this friendship, the witch wanted to go back to the human world.
The witch that the crystals remember seems so alone. The lever looks like it turns. Try to push it and see.
Looks like another mechanic for the level. The orb lever reveals structures through its beam. Essentially, this level consists of levers that need to be pushed and turned in the right order. This mechanic works okay, but the actual pushing is really slippery. Anyways, carrying on, the witch realizes that the princess is here for her specifically, and not the crystals. But that does not stop the skeletons from fighting the princess. I want to note now that there's a limited amount of health you can get per life and level, so if you were to die fully, the entire level restarts, which definitely can make this less enjoyable without a checkpoint or at least your puzzle progress being saved. As the level continues, we have to climb many staircases made only through crystal beams. The princess during this starts to really question what's going on with the skeletons and crystals. There's an annoying boss coming up now. It's this skeleton that uses magic and is guarded by several stronger skeletons. Dying here was very frustrating as it's pretty far in the level. Once you do get through it, there's a section of disappearing blocks that are timed with a spinning crystal. The leeway for this section is pretty small, which makes this section a lot harder than one might think from a glance. After another section of movable levers, the stage is over. Level 5. To continue the story, one day a group of people surrounded the witch. She was happy to see them, but as it turns out it was a mob. People were extremely upset as they had become corrupted by the crystals. These people began attacking others, which led them to believe it was the witch's fault. Now it is sunrise time on the tower. This is another one of those levels that looks really good in terms of the skybox. The newest gimmick is the laser, as well as the boulders I mentioned at the very start. This level has the hardest platforming in the game, as the princess has to dodge moving lasers while making jumps. Throughout the level, the princess finally starts to accept the fact that the legend she's been told was not entirely truthful. The boulders in this level have few implications, to ride on as well as to avoid being run over. The weird thing about using the boulders to move is you have to run backward while on top. The witch at this point is having a huge issue keeping control as the crystals start to infect her as well. There's not much we can do for her at the moment, so time to continue along the boulders. This next section has us riding the boulders through lasers to pass, which becomes one of the only times in the game where multiple mechanics overlap each other. This allows a sequence where you have to move between moving lasers while steering, which can be quite challenging as well, as if you get hit, you and the boulder get flung backward. After the course, it is time for one last ride. Level 6. To top off the lore, after the witch was harassed by the mob, they trashed the crystal grove that was her home. The crystals became pissed and attacked the mob directly. The witch tried to get them to stop, but it seemed to everyone that she was commanding them to attack. As they left her, the crystals took control over her. Damn bro, that sucks. Anyways, on to the final boss, the witch. This fight starts with all the crystals in the center protecting the witch. After defeating some skeletons, you need to dodge these crashing pillars. A well-placed pillar into the crystals starts phase 2, which is an all-out assault of blasts and lasers. Brute forcing the attacks works perfectly in this case. After a few fury attacks, it's on to the next phase, which is a bombardment of crystals and some hand-to-hand combat. During all this, the crystals and the princess are arguing. Doing enough damage to her between blasts starts the final phase, where these giant arms crash into the ground. Climbing these and attacking the witch is enough to free her from the crystals. The princess successfully convinces the crystals to go eastward, away from humans, and to release the witch for her to protect. And that is the last level. The concluding story page sums it up as the princess learned the history from the crystals, she helped the witch become free, as the crystals left, the tower lost all power and started collapsing, the princess jumped into her balloon and caught the witch from falling. The two watched the tower collapse and headed back to the princess's kingdom. They recorded the adventure in a book, and the two became friends and lived happily ever after.
That's the game!
That is Forward to the Sky. Honestly, a pretty alright experience overall. It is a very short game. It only takes about an hour to go all the way through. Getting all the crystals does take a bit longer, as there are some hidden statues and enemies that are not on the main path. There are several guides in the community hub if anyone's interested in playing through and 100%ing this game. As far as gameplay goes, there's a bit more to be desired as it's very simple, and a lot of the puzzles really only stay relevant for one level. The story is the most interesting part of this experience, but even that is really simple. But that's not a bad thing, if you know that's what you're getting yourself into. Expectations are a huge thing when it comes to gaming. For me, I wasn't expecting a huge story with hundreds of hours of playtime. The game is clearly designed for a younger audience, but that does not mean that it wasn't enjoyable to play through. I'd say it is worth giving this game a shot, as there are a few positives that I've left to mention, these being the Steam stats. If you were to purchase this game on Steam, it would run you $7.99. I've seen it on sale many times for under $5, which I think is pretty fair. You can also get this in a bundle, which includes Fantasy Versus and Panty Party? What an interesting combo for this bundle. Anyways, the soundtrack for this game is also free, which is always a nice addition. Other than that, the two main draws for this game are in the achievements and the trading cards. This game is very easy to 100%. It requires a playthrough of the story and to get all the crystals. That whole process takes less than 2 hours. Being on a perfect games list and assisting in the achievement percentage meter are always very enticing to some Steam users. The trading cards in this game are also pretty easy, as there are only 5 for the set. Having a complete set of cards gives you a badge as well as increases your Steam level. This game is an affordable way to boost both of those categories, which is one of the main draws for sure. Thank you for watching this video of the Steam Completion Challenge. As time goes on, I am having my doubts about the longevity of this project. I really would like to move this over to Twitch, but unfortunately my computer is not strong enough to stream and game at the same time. Until I get a better setup, the videos might have to do. Of course, as you may have noticed, it takes a long time and a lot of commitment per game. But as promised, I am still going to do a Castle Miner Z video here soon, so stay tuned for that. I have some other projects in the works that will hopefully come to fruition within the next few months, which will be alongside the 2 Steam videos per month. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you in the next one.